I know some people that are in certain religious groups or organizations, you go to church and there's an altar there. You go to church, they're doing marriages and christenings. Those are rituals, but you know, they're doing it, but they're calling it something else. But then they tell you not to have this in your house, not to have an altar in your home, which I think is really of great benefit to us, especially people of color. It's really a big benefit because that's a part of our culture, our ancestral culture.
Unfortunately, at a lot of melanated people, we suffer greatly because we don't have the connectivity consciously to our ancestors. But when you look at certain other people,
Yes,
they don't have that same suffering. And when you look at, let's just say Haiti. Haiti has had 2 major earthquakes. That is not a coincidence. It is also not a coincidence that a lot of the people in Haiti have accepted Christianity. How do you go from the system of your gods and bypass that and take a couple of steps down the ladder to accept the sorcery of Christianity? It's the same thing in Kem. When you go to Kem, it's the land of rich antiquity, and some say the last golden age, but it is an Islamic country. They serve al-Islam. There's a disparity there. It doesn't rain in Kem. They don't have a lot of amenities. It's very, very overcrowded and dilapidated in certain parts where it should not be that way. But that also is not a coincidence. So maybe it has something to do with the spiritual estrangement of generations of people. And it doesn't have to be that way. There are people that have all kinds of videos about altars and ancestor money on the web, but a lot of those are relegated to a certain system of Santeria, Ifa, or Hoodoo, or Wicca. And that might really not be the best system for someone who is just starting out. I have not produced, and I probably won't put a video about how to set up an altar freely out there on YouTube because it comes with too much information. Eventually, we will have webisodes of AGA, which stands for Angels, Gods, and Altars. And if people want to come through the conduit of Galighticus, they can get a very specific, total education, which is the responsible way to give that to people in exchange for their intention and desire to learn.
Before we jump off, I want to talk about the spirit of lack a little bit, because when I introduced people to Galacticus ancestor money, the first thing they said, "Oh, that's expensive," and I'm like, "But you're worth it. I'm worth it. If it's working, you're worth it, right?" I've seen so many things shift in my life since I've been burning this Galacticus money. So how could you not want to invest? So what do you say to people that say, "Oh, that costs too much," or "That's too, I don't know, you sure it worked?" Like that doubt, the lack, and all of that. Because my thing was worthiness. I had to work on my worth, and you brought that to my attention, and I had never thought of that before.
Right.
I never really viewed myself as having a self-worth issue, but I am so worthy. I am so worthy. And I am getting the benefit of my investment, because it's truly an investment. It's an investment into your ancestors and into yourself.
So what I realize is that, I don't want to say our people, but I would say people in general, certain kinds of people have very, very intrinsically ingrained and hardwired within their consciousness the spirit of lack, and it really does serve to be an impediment in their life. If you look at some of these rappers, right, I get a kick out of it. They literally walk around with big stacks of money, and they take videos with it. What's his name? The boxer. They call him Money something.
Floyd Mayweather, the boxing legend known as a Money.
And he's always smearing his wealth in your face. He walks around literally with all of this cash. And the moment I see that, and I see people with all of these jewels, with $1 million worth of jewels, $4.5 million worth of diamonds in their teeth, I know that automatically that their priorities are deranged. I know that they want to transmit the energy of riches, but they're not wealthy, and they're morally, spiritually poor, because they won't take a part of that and put it towards their ancestors because they don't know about it. But even if they did know about it, they're like, "Oh, put this on me and show people that, I got it." But they really might be going to the projects after that. So you're putting on a false illusion, and getting rid of the spirit of lack would be or is the number one thing that I teach my students how to rid themselves from. One of the first actions that they have to overcome just to be a student is a financial one. And I want them to see that they have manifested something of magnitude. Some of them have an easier time than others. When people are seeing that they can manifest becoming a student, it proves to them that it is possible. And I have them do lots of other things that they don't think is possible. They also begin to see that there is a connection outside of the corporeal physical one. They start to come to webinars in the spiritual world. They start to see me and the other students on what I call the arc. The arc is the upper room of our mission. And most of my students have been there and they see it clearly and they're able to bring back the data and they're able to recollect their recordings that I call dreams and lots of other things that will illuminate them. So even if they choose not to transcend or ascend, at the very least, they are illuminated. Being illuminated gives you choices at the end of your life. It doesn't mandate you to come back as a Christian or Muslim or any of the other religions that basically rule our world. It gives them the comfort of being able to choose from other divine birthrights that they have foregone all of their in physical incarnations long. And it gives them the opportunity for the first time, okay, but you know what? I want to go for the divine afterlife. I want to go to some of the divine worlds. I would like to go into the sub-eternal realms. Lots of other things that are not open to people who have not done everything that they can to be illuminated. So having an altar again begins to make it possible. And getting rid of the spirit of lack is a conditionality that will basically staple you to this reality. The god Lakshmi was the one that told me very pointedly. She said, stop struggling. And I noticed that, and I've told the story a million times, that I noticed that shortly after that, I was not struggling financially with anything. I was taking myself out to eat to expensive restaurants. I was flying first class, treating myself really well. And I noticed that it wasn't a hardship to do so. I stopped shopping at secondhand stores and Goodwill. I don't set foot in those places anymore because I've elevated beyond that. Self-worth is something, I don't know what that means to not feel worthy. I've never had that impediment. I've had people that have told me, Master, I didn't come to the seminar because I didn't feel worthy. And I said, what is that like? What is it like not to feel worthy of something that's going to benefit you?
Right.
So maybe that is a derivative of the spirit of lack, but whatever it is, at the end of the day, if your divine parents and your ancestors see you living lowly, like Chuck D said, uh-oh, the low below the level because I'm living low next to the base. Come on, turn up the radio. If they see you're doing that, they don't really have a reason to concert with you. They don't have a reason to lay their hands on you to help lift you up because you're already giving the very, very clear and empirical message that you want to live in the gutter, energetically and spiritually speaking. And your divine parents will allow you to do that for as many lifetimes as you wish. But when you start transmitting something like, I'll give you an example. This is Pombajira, and this is Exu and Lord Brahma, right? So when you start transmitting a number this big, this is the Golgotha, that's a plexitrus. It's a very, very big number. When numbers like this start coming from the gateway of your altar, not only do your ancestors get the benefit of it, but it is like a beacon because your divine parents see it. The other gods see it, and they become very curious about you and say, wow, you're not supposed to know that number. What are you doing? And they become curious about you and they become more inclined to interface with you because they see that you have taken yourself seriously enough to transmit these numbers. By the way, these numbers they're about 100 years from humanity using them with consciousness. These numbers come from the gods. They're really, really huge. So the government, when they back engineer time travel in some of the ships, it is the extraterrestrials that gave them those mathematics in the 40s, in 1947 in particular.
How did you come up with those numbers? Like, I had to research and is it really septillion dollars, septillion pounds? Is there such thing?
Why did you not believe it?
I mean, yes. I
you had to do your due
I
diligence.
never heard of quadrillion. before.
And that's a
So
low
I
number.
didn't.
That's a relatively small number. But when you look at a number like Galighticus or Grand Galighticus or Gogolplex, these numbers have been downloaded into the consciousness of the people that discovered them and brought them to the surface, but they come from on high. The same way that if you look at, I wish I had my computer handy, but if you look at, it is well believed that the personal computer, which is something that a lot of us can't live without, the different versions of that are the smartphone. There's nowhere where I go where I don't see people buried in their phones, you know, even when they're at church and in the movies. This is a computer. So what happens is that also came from a higher reality, and it downloaded its way and made its way into our reality. There are so many different things that we know nothing about that we will within the next 5 years that we will quickly develop a dependency on. But by and large, it's going to advance us. By the way, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. We are closer to being cyborgs than we have ever been.
Yes.
And we eventually will become that. If we don't start making spirituality, our spiritual ability commensurate with the time that we spend on this, we will become cyborgs completely. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. That most likely is going to be the fate of the earth denizen. It's going to happen probably in the lifetime of maybe my grandchildren, but we're well on our way there. One of my jobs on Kaya on this planet is not to stop that from happening, but to give people an alternative. Like, hey, you may not want to get on that roller coaster. Maybe you want to get on this one. This will give you a lot more latitude, and it'll be a lot more pleasurable in the long run. And that's what it's all about.
For some, it will be a resurrection. For others, it will be the ultimate capstone to everything they've been seeking. You are serious about life-changing spirituality and taking a mild or quantum leap in your evolution. Join us today for 3 unique presentations. The Apotheosis Seminar, the new and dynamic healing modality of Ultra Nahata, and the brand new Awakening Seminar presentation at the International Airport. Early bird tickets and discount room and group rates are available at events.Galighticus.com.